Hello YouTube, De-bodgery here. Welcome to EV Components Review. Normally I don't do 4 videos on one controller, but because of this thing here and some of the uniqueness and variations of it for other ones, yeah, I'm going to do a 4 video thing on this thing. So this is going to be kind of like overview number 2, or number 1 rather, and overview number 2 is going to be where we actually look at the boards inside. And then there's going to be a macro video after that. So anyway, we've done kind of like the stuff that comes with it. And now we want to focus on the shell and this connector situation right here. And in the next video after that, we'll actually look at the board. So yes, I know this is a little bit longer than other ones because of that, but this is a bit of a unique situation that nobody else has done. So I think it's worth spending the time to look at. All right, so the top cover, this is kind of cool. So you've got this little window right here, and you can see me put my finger behind it. And on the board down here, you've got 5 little LEDs that shine through that little window. I like attentions to detail. And so, good job, MakerX. I like seeing stuff like that. You know, I've run across many controllers where they'll have LEDs on the logic board, and you can't see them because the cover's in the way. And here they have deliberately put them all in one spot and put a little clear window through the aluminum shell so you can see the LEDs. That's attention to detail, folks. I like seeing that. This little screw right here, when I first saw it, I was thinking, what is that for? And after a while, it finally dawned on me what that was for. So here is what that does. Let me put the right bit in here. So right there, you can see the USB-C port. And you don't have to take the controller apart to get to it. So here you have this little plug, and it's got an O-ring on it. You take that out, and here's your USB-C port. That's attention to detail, folks. Once I realized what that was, I went, I love it. How cool is that? Nobody else does that, you know? Like, here's MakerX doing it. So, really good, MakerX. I like that a great deal. And then as soon as you put that little cap back on, you have not broken the seal anywhere else except for right there, to get to USB so you can program your controller, and then as soon as you screw that back in place, everything is all nice and sealed up again. So yeah, good job. I mean, I've never run across anybody else who's done that on anything. You know, normally you take some kind of a door off, like all the Flip Sky stuff, you know, they might pretend like they want to make it waterproof, but they never do. And this actually is going to be waterproof for the most part. So like, even like here, so this little lip right here and this little shoulder right there, once the controller is mostly put together and it's still kind of loose, wherever it is, there we go, this little O-ring goes in that groove, you tuck it in all the way, and then when you clamp it down, you're going to compress this O-ring a little bit and seal the top shell to the bottom shell. You know, it's an attention to detail. And MakerX, you know, a Chinese company, they did that. I'm impressed. Good job. So yeah, I like this little lid. I like the little screw connector. I like the little window. Even like these holes right here where the studs come through, you can see that they have these 2 glands in them. And that's because, and I took them off, there is a bunch of O-rings that go in those glands. So 2 per stud. So you get 2 seals from the aluminum lid to each one of these brass studs thanks to O-rings. Again, good job, MakerX. You know, you could have done 1 and called it a day, but no, you put 2 of them on there to make sure that the lid seals up to the brass studs. And this is a Chinese company doing this. So, you know, I got to give MakerX proper props. You know, all machined aluminum shell, attention to details in a lot of places, lots of good places. So yeah, good job. You know, definitely like all the machined aluminum. That's, you know, this is going to be a high quality case. Let's just call it what it is. How many times have you seen plastic on controllers? And this one's got none, you know, other than like connectors. All right. So anyway, definitely like their shell, like a lot of the attention to detail, things like that. Okay. So I'm going to pull this out and I'll talk about this after a bit. So this connector right here, you know, everything is loose. You can see it's loose, but it's trapped in there. You can't get it out. You can't push it back because the capacitors, which you can kind of see are right back there, are trapping it. So you can't push it back to get this out. It's trapped. to get this connector out, you have to pull all this stuff out, and then that'll come out. So, yeah, if you do have a problem with this, getting to it is not the easiest thing ever, but you also have this really compact controller too. So, you know, when you're making something really small like this, you're going to make compromises like that. So this isn't a terrible one. All right, let me pull this stuff out, and we'll kind of look at this real quick. So there was standoffs right here and back there, and they're in the bag, so you can see them right there. And then those threaded into this right here. So this board was secured by Phillips head screws and those, and then the standoffs plus other screws, because you can see that there's other screws down there, held the power stage in place. So yeah, as far as securing everything to the shell, that was done really well. So let me set this aside because I want to talk about this connector. So once you have that out, and then there's two Allen head screws that go in those two holes, then you can pivot this back and pull it out. And it's got this little reinforcing machined aluminum frame around it to make that stiffer. That's kind of cool. And of course, everything here is all sealed up. It's all going to be pretty well waterproof, I'm sure of that. And you know, they've put a silicone seal around there so that when this is screwed in place, you can see the blue O-ring in there. That's going to get compressed down, and that's going to keep water out. But there's a problem, and that is DB25s aren't waterproof. They flat out are not. So they have thought about that, though. You know, the attention to detail is mostly here. So they've got another O-ring there, so that when these go together with the shell in between, and those things sandwich up, you should get a watertight seal, but you don't. So let me put this back in place. You have to pivot it in. Put the bottom in first because there's just like this little well that it fits into. Pivot the bottom in and then it drops right in. So imagine that I had those two screws in there holding that in place, which case that would be clamped down, and this back here through that O-ring would be sealed to the inside of the shell. This one, however, you've got these two M3 screw holes right here, but you don't have any ears on this. And those two screw holes right there, they match up to this one right here and this one right here, because this is a DB25 connector. These things have been around since the 1970s, probably. And so, you know, you'd plug this into something else, and then you put a couple screws into those things to secure it to, like, the back of your terminal or the back of your computer, because, you know, these were used for, like, RS-232 and parallel printers back in the day. Anyway, so, yeah, those two threaded holes are pretty standard fare for that stuff. But since those are completely hidden, you can't use them, right? So, anyway, let me squeeze that together. There we go. That's squeezed in, and they're pretty good. And you still have these two holes right here, but there's no ears on here. But they did include two M3 screws. So what's going to happen, and you can see it's loose, right? I mean, admittedly, I don't have the screws in place, but at the same time, let's see. Yeah, you see the gap? Yeah, and that's with me squeezing this stuff together and then pushing this way, because this piece back here would be screwed down, and now you have that gap in there. So, yeah, this piece right here can't be compressed aluminum to make a watertight seal because you have that gap between the two. So DB25 is not waterproof, and yet they've got this O-ring on there, but they don't have little ears on here to secure this through those two M3 screws, in which case you'll have a water gap and whatever else to bugger up that DB25 connector. So close, just put ears on here so that these two screws can go through those ears and secure this in place. And then I would say that's not going to be a water incursion problem. But as is right now, it's a water incursion problem. So anyway, fix that, guys, at MakerX. I'm sure you'll watch my videos. Put a couple ears on this thing so that that's not the case. And also, you've got way too many connectors here. This is connector number 1 to the logic board. Here's connector number 2. Some things plug directly into here. Other things like, say, the COM port, you know, you've got 4 connectors before you ever even leave the controller, and then you've got whatever else after that. So lots and lots of connector possibilities for creating failures. And like JST is not exactly waterproof or really tough or resilient. So yeah, lots of these is not really good, and these are probably going to be okay inside the shell. But yeah, you've got way too many connectors in here. So yeah, MakerX, if you're paying attention to this, you need to figure this out. But put these on there, that's fine, and then bring all the wires straight out. That's it. Get rid of the DB25, possibly. definitely fix that if you're going to keep it in there. Do something different so you eliminate connectors. You got way too many in here. All right, so on my next video, I'm going to talk about those. And that will be the last of the overviews, and then there'll be a macro video for just the electronics. Well, I hope to help some folks out. Take care. Definitely, this needs to be sealed up better. That's not good enough. I mean, you can see it move. Yeah, it's because there's a gap between that O-ring and the shell. If I press it together really tight, it does stay that way for a little bit, but then it'll slowly spring back off again, and it's not enough like this. It's going to get water in there, flat out. It just will, because there's no way to clamp this on. The holes are here, but there's no little tabs on this little aluminum frame on here to secure the two together. So, close but no banana. All right, I think that's it for this video. Hope to help some folks out. Expect another one coming soon.